Hi everybody, Jo here again, and welcome to another Tuesday catch up with me. Thanks for popping in and thanks for joining me today. Now, it's really exciting, and I bet you all know by now, but on last Friday, Lavinia released some new stamps. Now, Tracey has drawn the most gorgeous designs, so detailed. I mean, I'd love to be able to draw, wouldn't you? Anyway, the beauty of it is she draws them for us, and then obviously we have the stamps. And what I thought I'd do today is pop in and show you one of my samples. Now, this is using a wonderful new stamp called King Hopkins. Now, he is just gorgeous, isn't he? And what I thought is I'd show you how to do this design I'm just using brusho powders, and I'm using the fabulous watercolour card, the Lavinia watercolour card, and we just get this lovely effect. And I've got to be honest, it's so achievable. And I just think this will make a great man's card. And you know, they can be quite difficult, can't they? What can I say? But you could use it for children. I think it would look fantastic in a journal. I'm thinking a story around. And we've got a gorgeous another little frog. And the designs, there are so many that could go together. We've got the small frog, and we've also got Bogart, who's a swimming frog. I mean, you could put him here. So many possibilities. But I'm going to keep it quite simple today because it's really the technique I want to show you. And we're just going to make him our main feature. So if you want to put the kettle on, if you want to grab yourself a brew, maybe a cheeky snack, and I think we'll get started. So, like I say, I'm going to be using watercolour card. Now, this is the Lavinia watercolour card, and it's beautiful because it's smooth. Oh, look at that. I've got a black mark on that. We'll turn it over. It's double-sided, which is always good. Now, this piece, I did measure it. It's 4.5 inches by 6.5 inches. And I just chose that because it was a good size for me to do my stamping on. And all I'm going to do is stamp in black. And like I say, this is our fabulous stamp. And he is just gorgeous. I think it would help if maybe I had him straight on my stamp. I think that might help. And I'm going to stamp him in black, but I'm going to use a clear embossing powder. And that's just because I'm going to be adding the brushos and some water. And again, I've just got my copy paper underneath, just because that's easier for me. So all I'm going to do is stamp, add some clear embossing powder. And it's just because it gives the finished card just, I think, a nice effect, nice result. And when I'm using the brusho powders this way, or my Elements inks as a watercolour, it's just something I like to do. Now, I've just caught the edge, so I'm just going to clean that off. Right, and I'm just going to place him sort of there. And I'm purposely not adding a sentiment to this because I think this will be one of those designs that will be great to just keep in my stash for when I need that card. And I can easily add a sentiment to it. I've got lovely space here that I think a sentiment will look really good. And then what we'll do is clear embossing powder. I like to use black ink and clear embossing powder. For me, I just find I get a better result than using, you can use your Versamark, your sticky ink pad, and a black embossing powder. But for me, if I get any black speckles, it would show. But this way, if I get any clear speckles, well, to be honest, it will just add to this design because it will look like water. You know me, I like a good cheat. If I can find an easier way to do something, then that is what I shall do. So always put the lid on your embossing powder. Now I'm just going to heat this. So again, please excuse the noise. And again, when you're embossing, always put your heat tool on first and let it warm up. And then once it's warm, just start one area and slowly work your way down the scarf. Check we've got all that. And as I say, I just love that sort of shiny raised effect that we get. And then what I'm going to do now is add some brushos. So if you just excuse me, I've got them located as you do on the floor. Now, I don't know if you've got one of these fabulous palettes, but these are so useful. Look at mine, it's jam-packed with my brushos. But what I tend to do is have my colours mixed up ready, and I also have the name on the lid and on the side, just so I know which the colour is. Now, if these dry up a little and you've still got some crystals in the bottom, don't worry, just add some more water to reactivate them. I find them such an easy way that they store. The lids are perfect. A little tip for me, when I put the lids on, if I can show you, I always have the little tab almost facing out. I find it easier to take the lids off because the lids are tight, they're a snug fit. But to be honest, that's what you want, because you can travel with these. I've taken them to workshops, to demos, and the lids are perfect. You don't get any leaking, which is important with brushos, because as you know, they are highly pigmented, and the powder, you know, they will stain. So all I'm going to do is, I've got this lovely Lavinia brush in my water pot. Just need my inky binky. And this is number 10. And I find this lovely for this technique. And what we're going to do is we're literally going to add some colour, but we're not being very detailed and specific. So, and this is really good. Do you know what? If you feel, what's lovely with this is some people, some crafters have to do things very intricate and specific, and this is quite loose. So it's a lovely thing to have a play with. Got a piece of kitchen towel as well. Anyway, I'm just going to start off, make sure my brush is clean, and I want to add some yellow to his crown look, and I'm purposely dabbing and going over the lines. Clean my brush, and then I'm going to come in with my leaf green, and again just dab it, and again I'm not being very specific, just roughly where, there we go. Oh, and I should have added a bit of yellow here, so we'll do that. And again, I am making sure I clean my brush when I go from colour to colour. And we'll add some blue down here. And again, I'm just dabbing this on. And then clean my brush again, just dry it, make sure it's clean. I don't want to contaminate the colours. And then I've got a light brown, and I'm just going to dab this here. And then my favourite bit is to get my water spritzer and give it a good old spritz. And watch the colour run. Now, if the colour runs too much and it puddles, and you don't want it to puddle, such as here, just dab it with your kitchen roll. If you want to dab another bit, a little tip, just use a clean piece of your kitchen towel. So we'll get rid of that, and we'll just get rid of that there. I like this up here. Now, these bits that go up here, look, if I bring in the finished article or sample, can you see they add to all this area, and it just gives this lovely sort of background effect, and it will dry slightly paler. So basically, you just look at this and see how it's going. Now, I must admit, I could do with this green running a bit more here, and you can direct the way you spray look. You can also lift your card so that maybe you want to run, you can get it to run. And you just keep doing this till you think you like the background. And for me, this is just lovely. Now, I don't want as much brown in the water, so I'm actually going to dry that. But then I'm going to come in with my brush and add a bit more blue. But as it dries, it's starting to dry already. And if you can let it dry naturally, you get a much better effect. Now I'm actually going to come in with a smaller brush and just add a little bit of purple in some areas. I like that, just to give, and in fact, just going to add a little bit of purple into the stones. And actually, I'm going to add a little bit of purple in the sky, not much. Then I'm going to come in with some water. Oh, blue water, look. And that, even though it's just a tiny bit of purple, when that dries, it will bring in, quite often in the sky, you get the reflection of the sea, don't you? So it will highlight those colours. Now, what I tend to do is let that dry naturally. So I have an A4 lid, and I just put a piece of my kitchen towel in there, and I would place that in there to dry. Because for me, if you let it dry naturally, you will get a much better result. But don't worry, we're not going to sit here and chat while it dries. I've got one here that I did an hour ago. So this is how it dries. You could use your heat tool, but again, you've got embossing here and you don't want to spoil that. But also, you get a much better effect. I mean, look at this sky. I mean, I don't know about you, but look at this. I just love the way it dries. And as I say, it was simple, really, wasn't it? There was nothing difficult there. And then the lovely bit now is you can paint in the detail. So what I do is I use a combination of some watercolour paints and also my brushos. So I'm going to put these side by side, and what I'm going to do now is just add some more detail to this. And for this, I will use my lovely number 1. Look at this, I use this brush so much. So, for example, if we get some of our brown brusho look, we can start adding some shade to the base of these rocks. And this bit, I mean, I will do it quite quickly, but you know, you can just take your time and just enjoy painting, and it is so relaxing. And this is where, for me, the fun comes, just adding the light and the shade. And just making it more 3D. Now, I'm going to bring in, just going to add a little bit of yellow, bring a bit more detail into his crown there. And then I think we'll add a little bit of yellow, because although the green, they've sort of got highlights, haven't they? So let's add some yellow. And as I say, I'm just using a combination of my brusho powders. So you can use whatever watercolour brushos. Just add some orange there. Right, let's come in with our leaf green. And we just want to add a bit more green, I think, to him. So at the base here. Just here we'll have a bit more shade, won't we? And like I say, you will take your time and just paint. Let's get his toes a bit more colour. So really, you're putting the detail back in. So don't worry about losing some of that detail when you did your loose spraying in the beginning, because now's the time when you can just add that detail. And I'm just going to add a little bit of yellow to the top of these rocks, just to sort of bring the yellow tones in and add some highlights. I think that sort of helps tie it all together. And again, do make sure I keep drying my brush in between. Now I just want to add a nice blue for his eye. And then a little bit more intense colour just at the base here. And like I say, you can just play and add. I think I want a bit darker brown down here. Just round his feet. I think that'll ground him a bit better. And it is amazing when you're doing this and you see the whole design building up. Let me add a bit of the light brown just to blend those two together. And like I say, you can see how. Now what I do want to do is just add a little bit of brown on his tummy, so the sort of green, yellow and brown all go together. I love the way he's got his arm. I don't know, is it an arm with a frog or a toad across his tummy, but I like that. Well, there we go, I like that colour. And I just think to actually build this up like this is just, as I say, you will have the most fabulous time. I really can't say how enjoyable this is. I want to just add a bit of red in here, just a tiny. Yeah, maybe just in the base there. Right, walk away. Now, again, I would let this dry naturally, but just for the purposes of here, I'm just going to add a tiny bit of heat, just so I can show you the little finishing tricks. So how are you doing anyway? I hope you're having a good week. I hope you've seen these new stamps. And I hope you've got so many ideas what to do with them. Like I say, I can't wait to use, I'm going to use him. He's got to go on a journal page, definitely. Now, I'm just going to lift my brushos out of the way and file them on the floor. I will put the lids on later, but obviously now's not the time to do it. And for me, I would do 2 or 3 of these at the same time. But I just think that is so lovely. Now, mine's not quite dry, so do forgive me. But I just want to show you, to finish off, I would use, I mean, we've got our gel pen, our white, and also the Signo pens. And these will just bring in that lovely sparkle. So what I'm thinking is down here for this staff, this is the gold, and it will just go in between where the embossed lines are. And again, on his crown, we can add a little bit. But also, he's got these gorgeous, well, I think they're gorgeous, little nodules on him, and you can colour. And again, this is where your pens just work beautifully. And just going to do a combination. I don't want to add too much, but just a few. And again, you can pick and choose how many you add, what colours you add. And again, it just brings those highlights in. Now, I'm not quite sure if my stones are dry, so the white might not show up. But I would add, if I show you on the finished one, look, we've got white highlight on the stones here and on him. Just look there, just on his little face. Now, mine's not quite dry, so do excuse me, so it won't show up actually as good as on the finished one. But I would use my white pen for that. And a little trick I want to show you is with the silver, what I'm going to do is add the silver here as ripples. But I'm going to come in with clean water, she says, on my brush and actually paint with it. So did you know you could move it with water? and it just makes it look more, obviously, like it's in the water. So just scribble some here. Again, get some water and just move it. So if you don't want definite lines, and if I lift that up, can you see that? Hopefully, can you see that? So it actually looks more sparkly, like it is water. And again, I just think that's a lovely effect. I mean, what I like to do is add a little bit up here, look, on the rocks. And then a little bit of water, just so it looks like they've been wet. And the water, can you see that, is just coming down over the rocks? And it's little finishing tricks like that for me that make your design really pop and really special. And to be honest, that's all there is to it. So on my finished one, if I bring the two in together, look. And again, if I lift this up so you can you see the sparkle in the water? I just think that's such a lovely effect. Oh, I was so chuffed when I discovered you could do that. So if we bring the two together, so as I say, the only difference here is I need it to dry to add my lovely white highlights. But I do think it's such a fabulous stamp. And you know, doing your backgrounds like this, look, no two will ever be the same. If I bring in the one, we could have the three together. So there's the finished one. There's the one with just the brusho background. And there's the one we've added colour to. Could have a bit of a production line going, couldn't you? And you see how you add more depth to him and how he finishes off. So I'm hoping you enjoy that as much as I do. It really is one of my favourite techniques. And I do think, you know, a lot of us have bought the brusho powders, but we tend to just put them to one side and not use them. And this is just such a lovely, easy but effective way to use your brusho powders. So I hope you have a go. And I hope you tag me in so that I can see. And as always, thank you for joining me. So I hope you have a good week, and I'll be back next Tuesday. I may even try and sneak in before, if I can, just so we can have a catch up. You take care. Love and hugs to all. Bye for now.